Hi friends, how are you doing today? If I'm reaching out to you again, as you might have guessed, it's to introduce a new product. We had already talked about the Reolink at Altas, not Atlas, because I had called it Alta Ultra PT on this channel. It was a round camera that was able to rotate on itself. In the Alta Series, Reolink, which we're going to talk about again today, has sent me the Alta Series. I think this must be the fourth camera we've received. Some cameras we were able to install in our camper van, others that can be used at home. Since we're on a site that talks quite often about van life, the question to ask right away, or rather the one I'll ask at the end of the video, is whether this camera is really made to be used in a van. But first, what does Reolink promise us with this camera? All the technical information can be found in the description. In the description, you'll find the article related to this video, which is on the blog. Feel free to check it out. You'll find a lot more in-depth information there, especially regarding the technical specifications. I'm not going to list all the technical specs and all that stuff here. Maybe that doesn't really interest you. This video is more about my personal impressions, so there you go. Don't hesitate to take a look in the description. First of all, it can record videos in 2K, in 2K HD, and even at night thanks to ColorX technology. I'll need to talk more about that because sometimes I wonder if it's actually the LEDs that are on or if it's really the camera that's able to film. That's still a question I have after the various tests I've done with the camera. It has dual band Wi-Fi 6, both 2.4 and 5 gigahertz, which is pretty good because I know I have a modem that does both. And often we get products that only work on 2.4. So it's pretty nice to know that a product works on both 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. It will be able to store information using an SD card, unless, like me, you're lucky enough to have the consumer-grade digital recorder, the Home Hub, which we've already tested on this channel, and which allows me to have just one storage, just one SD card, or even two for a much larger number of cameras than the number of SD cards. Quick promo moment, don't forget that with the code in the description, the code CARO5, you'll get 5% off the camera and the entire Reolink store. Let's get back to the product presentation. And where this camera really stands out is that it actually comes with a battery end. That's probably why it's so heavy with a 20,000 milliamp hour battery. Which, I have to admit, if it's connected to a 6-watt solar panel, say, kind of solar panels they can provide with the camera, end up with almost unlimited battery life. That's something I also noticed during my tests. So let's move on to the exterior aspect of this camera, which I don't know if you notice it too, but personally I find it very beautiful. It's shaped like a cylinder, slightly curved, somewhere between a cylinder and a rectangular prism, with this nice antenna. You really like Reolink's designs. You know, I've already told you that about their different cameras, but this one, I don't know. I find it just so cute. It even has a nice feel to it. I don't know how to put it. It's soft. It's both high quality, it's heavy, it's dense again, probably thanks to the battery, but it's this color combination here between the top and the off-white, the different LEDs you see on the front along with the lens. Here you even have a microphone. You can see there's a microphone that lets you capture sound. You can pick up sounds in case there's an intrusion. That way you can hear the person speaking to you. There's also underneath the camera a speaker that lets you communicate as well, whether there's an intruder or you need to leave information. For example, if you have a delivery person coming to your house and you want to leave them a message, you can do that. So underneath, it's also particularly well sealed. There are waterproof caps. You should know that the camera meets the IP66 standard, so it's able to withstand a certain level of bad weather. You can really see this thanks to the plastic covers that protect both the USB port and the SD card slot. So as for the SD card slot, normally once it's closed, it's sealed. But with a USB port, you might think that oxidation could come from there. Well, I can tell you that when you really press down to insert the solar panel, you realize, okay, yes, it must be waterproof because you really have to push it in. There are these kinds of micro seals built into the port, and at that point you think, okay, it's good, it will hold. Visually, well, on the back, of course, you have the screws to mount it on the base. Visually, I really like it. I have a real soft spot for the design of this camera. I don't know what you think, but is that the most important thing in a camera? No. In a camera, what's important is also its performance, and that's what we're going to look at now. So to get an idea of how the Reolink Altas works for installation, I recommend that you first set it up through the software. You don't want to wait until you've drilled, set everything up, installed your camera, and then realize when you go to connect it that it's actually outside your Wi-Fi range. That would be pretty clumsy and just bad luck. So I always recommend it's much easier to first set up the camera through the software. What's more, it's done in an extremely simple way. All you have to do is use the Reolink app on your phone to scan the QR code located under the camera and follow the instructions. If you don't have a home hub, you'll be asked to connect to your home's local Wi-Fi network. If your phone is already connected, it'll be even easier. You will probably still need to enter the encryption key, and right after that, the camera will connect. You'll hear audio prompts coming from the speaker. And with the home hub, it's even simpler because if you tell it, well, no, I have a home hub, go ahead, connect it. You don't even need a Wi-Fi key anymore. It will pair directly with the Reolink home hub. That's what I was able to do, and it's truly a marvel in terms of how easy it is to install. Nevertheless, I still need to talk to you about the Reolink app. I've discussed the Reolink app with my contact at Reolink, and there you have it. This is my rant moment. This is the part that I find a bit unfortunate with this brand. They made an app for the phone, and it's optimized for the phone. However, if you have an iPad, it's not optimized, meaning it only works in portrait mode. Sometimes you might have, actually, if you want the full video feed, you can get it in landscape mode by clicking on the camera of your choice in the app. Then it will switch to landscape mode. Otherwise, the entire app works in portrait mode. I think that's a shame. And what's even more unfortunate is that the Reolink app doesn't exist for computers, and even less so for Macs. I have a Mac, and where an app could very easily be ported over even, if it was in portrait format on the computer, it would still work. But no, there's a different application for computers, an app that's for clarity, reserved for Reolink's professional equipment, that is for professional digital recorders, meaning those huge boxes where you connect a bunch of cameras. And there's no application for the computer, even though I think that if, like me, you have a lot of cameras in your home, it means you have a big house, you have the means, maybe you have multiple screens, and you're thinking, well, while I'm working, if I could have the app with the different camera feeds, that would be great. I wouldn't need to open my phone to get information. Honestly, I don't understand, in this case, Reolink's decision. I asked my partner Reolink about it. I said, is this planned? Have you been working on it? It would be really cool to have this kind of application. He told me, yeah, we'll think about it, we'll consider it. Thanks for the feedback. So, well, they are not at all stuck on this, you know. And I'm going to tell him, I'll remind him every time, I'll put on the pressure so that we can get this dedicated application for computers. So just as I was about to encode this video, someone from Reolink actually told me that they are working on new software. He sends me the link, I download the application, I install it, and now indeed it's possible to have the consumer Reolink cameras on your computer. It's just awesome. Thank you, Reolink, for working quickly on this issue. So now let's get back to installing the camera. Once your camera is working properly from a software standpoint, we're now going to install it physically. For this, where Reolink is actually pretty good, I have to admit, is that you have two mounting systems. You have the system where you drill, insert wall plugs, and screw in the mount, onto which you'll also screw the camera. Otherwise, there's a strap system. That is to say, if at your place, let's say you have poles, you have a pole, you'll be able to, and if you can't drill into a pole, you'll be able to mount it quite high and wrap the camera around it. I'm lucky because for this camera, I decided to use it above my office. There's the shared roof of the building, and in it there's a storage area, a closed storage area. And it's under a roof, so I was able to install my camera direct well, on the framework, but it's a concrete framework. Still, I was able to wrap the mount using the strap and didn't have to drill a single hole, even though I love using a drill. Same thing for the solar panel. I was able to connect the solar panel directly to the camera. I was able to attach it to the door itself, and so it's facing the sun. Honestly, it's only facing the sun for about 2 hours a day, I'd say. 2 hours is not much at all. But since the camera uses very little energy, because it only turns on when it detects something. And I have to admit, in a cellar, it doesn't detect much except for me. It detected me when I went back to get my camera mount that I had forgotten. So I'm showing you the footage. It detected me at that moment, but otherwise, I'm completely satisfied with this camera because, well, it takes so little energy to recharge it. Now, I'm not saying that if you film a street tomorrow, you'll have lots of people passing by and it will trigger much more often. Obviously, your solar panel will need to get sunlight more frequently in that case, but that's not the case with the setup I have, so that's good for me. As for the visuals, well, I had already made videos where I tested other cameras and wanted you to see how they get triggered. This one has something called pre-recording. I don't know how. I think actually it's always recording a little bit internally. It must be something like that. But it's able to show you footage from before it was triggered. Technically, to me, that means it's recording continuously. I don't see how it could be possible otherwise. In practice, I have to admit that when I wanted to, when I actually went back down into the basement and opened the door, it still wasn't able to show footage from before I entered. So I think it only works when it's really recording continuously. It records continuously and then goes back in time. I think that's more likely the case. In situations where there's really no activity at all and then suddenly there is some, unless I just wasn't able to get it to work that way, well, there you go. As for pre-trigger recording, I don't feel like it actually worked on this model. Nevertheless, in a storage room, it doesn't work since I don't have any animals, cars, or anything like that. But I was able to leave it on my balcony. And in fact, the AI built into the camera is able to tell you what type of individual, of humanoid passes through the frame. That is, you can alert me only if you see that it's people, not if it's a cat, not if it's a car. So there's always this AI that is built into the cameras, which allows it to distinguish between the different things that pass through the camera's field of view. So now let's get to the point. If you have a camper van, is this camera right for you? Well, yes and no. I have to admit that at Reolink, there are cameras that are much more discreet, much less bulky, especially if you need to mount it on the interior walls of your camper van. I'm thinking of the Reolink 3 Pro. Yeah, the Reolink. It's in the Argus range. I know that in my camper van, I have the 2A, I think. And I've also tested the 3 Pro, which is about the same, similar in size. These are much smaller cameras that will be a lot more discreet in a camper van. On the other hand, this one has the advantage of being able to be used both in a camper van while not, and especially at home, to monitor your camper van if it's parked on your property. And why not? When you live with your camper van, take the camera that's filming your camper van and put it inside your camper van. I have to admit, once it's at your home, I think you'll end up leaving it there to monitor your property rather than taking it with you in your camper van. In that case, considering the price of an Argus, get an Argus for inside your camper van. It'll be better that way. So yes, it can be used in a camper van, is that its primary purpose. Honestly, when I see the size of the battery and how heavy it is, I worry that with all the movement against the walls and everything, it's better to go for the Argus range. There you have it, dear friends. That's the presentation of this product. Don't hesitate. There's still the promo code CARO5, which will get you 5% off. And at the same time, support the channel, support me, and let me go have a few coffees if you ever buy a Reolink using the code in the description. See you later. See you soon. Kisses. Bye.